Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The shimmering facade of the Celestial Vista Hotel glimmered under the three suns of the alien planet, casting a kaleidoscope of colors against the vibrant marketplace below. Harold stepped through the sleek, sliding doors of the hotel, his heart racing with an exhilarating mix of trepidation and excitement. As he entered the lobby, he was enveloped by the intoxicating aroma of spices and alien flora, blended with the sound of laughter and chatter in languages he couldn't decipher. With each step, he couldn't help but marvel at the incredible architecture. The ceilings towered above, adorned with intricate designs and luminescent vines that pulsed gently, as if alive. This was more than just a hotel. It was a monument to interstellar unity and diversity. After checking in, Harold made his way to his room, feeling the weight of his mundane human life slip away. As he settled in, he gazed out the expansive window at the breathtaking view of the alien landscape, iridescent trees, swirling fog, and dancing lights from distant civilizations. It was a world unlike any he had ever known. Feeling adventurous, he rummaged through the in-room guide and discovered an intriguing option for room service: exotic experiences. The description promised a taste of true alien culture, catering to the most daring of guests. With a smirk, he picked up the sleek communicator embedded in the wall, envisioning an evening far more thrilling than the typical earthly fare. He dialed the establishment's room service. "Welcome to Celestial Vista. How can we make your stay unforgettable?" A melodic, almost musical voice chimed through the speaker, sending a ripple of excitement down his spine. I'd like to order something unique, something I can't find on Earth," he replied, a hint of playfulness in his tone. "Certainly, sir. We have a variety of unique delicacies and experiences to choose from. Any preferences for species or specific experiences?" Harold hesitated, his imagination running wild. "Surprise me." "Very well, sir. Enjoy your stay." He chuckled softly to himself, wondering what whimsical delivery was on its way. Maybe a peculiar dish, or perhaps an alien artifact. As he waited, Harold paced around the room, anticipation building. He was ready for a night of exploration and discovery, and little did he know, he was about to receive more than he had ever bargained for. Moments later, a sound echoed outside the door, and his heart raced. Harold swiftly opened the door, excitement flooding through him. But as he laid eyes on the scene before him, his expression shifted from eagerness to sheer astonishment. Standing there, the delivery had exceeded all his wild expectations. Before him stood an alien woman, Christina. She was bound in shimmering chains, adorned with iridescent scales that reflected the ambient light. Her striking features a perfect blend of fierce and delicate. Long, flowing tendrils cascaded from her head, emphasizing her otherworldly beauty. Christina's large, expressive eyes held a mix of fear and intrigue as she gazed at Harold. He took a step back, unsure of what to say. This isn't what I expected." The words came out in a whisper, barely audible over the racing pulse in his ears. Christina shifted slightly, the chains clinking softly as she moved, her expression a mixture of confusion and hope. "Welcome to your experience," she said, her voice sweet yet tinged with urgency. It was clear that turmoil lay beneath her words. As Harold stood there, dumbfounded, he noticed how her gaze searched his face, as if pleading for something, perhaps understanding or even rescue. What had he ordered? This was no simple alien dish. It was a living being, a creature caught in the web of chains and perhaps pain. His playful request for something unique had morphed into something far more profound and serious. Harold's heart raced, grappling with the reality of the situation. Here was an opportunity for adventure, connection, and perhaps redemption. He took a deep breath, stepping closer. "Let me help you," he said earnestly, determination solidifying within him. "What's your name?" "Christina," she revealed, her voice softening, flickering between the chains and the flickering promise of adventure. With those simple words, the boundaries of their worlds began to blur, igniting a spark that would change both of their lives forever. Harold's mind raced as he processed the reality of his situation. The initially whimsical order had spiraled into something deeply serious. He gazed into Christina's eyes, searching for the right words and hoping to convey the urgency of his mission to help her. "Christina," he repeated softly, letting the name settle between them. "Why are you in chains? What happened?" Christina hesitated, her gaze darting from Harold to the corridor behind her, as if fearing discovery. "I was captured," she explained, her voice barely above a whisper, laced with pain. "I was brought here for entertainment." As her words hung in the air, the gravity of her situation became alarmingly clear. The playful curiosity Harold felt moments before now shifted to a steely resolve. He couldn't let this stand. "Not for much longer," he vowed, clenching his fists in determination. "We can get you out of here. But first, I need to know how to help you." Christina looked at him, a glimmer of hope sparking in her eyes. "I can't leave without the access codes," she admitted, her expression tinged with fear. "The hotel is heavily secured, and without them, any attempt to escape will be met with dire consequences." "Access codes," Harold echoed, piecing together the puzzle. "Where would I find them?" "They must be kept in the control room. It's near the main lobby, but heavily guarded," she explained, her voice shaking. "But it's also accessible via the service corridors. I can guide you, but time is of the essence." Harold felt a mixture of thrill and anxiety coursing through him. "Then let's move quickly," he said, glancing nervously at the corridor. "We'll make our way to that control room." Christina nodded, her chains clinking softly as she shifted. "I'll guide you," she reassured him, her voice steadying as she took a deep breath. They moved cautiously through the hotel, Harold's heart racing not only from the thrill of the escape, but also from the electric connection growing between them. Christina moved gracefully despite her chains, guiding him through dimly lit service paths that weaved like a labyrinth through the hotel's foundation. Their shared determination forged a bond between them, a silent understanding that transcended words. Each time their eyes locked, there was an unspoken promise, a commitment to protect one another at all costs. As they approached the control room, the atmosphere became tense. The hum of machinery echoed ominously, and the distant sounds of laughter from the hotel's patrons faded into the background. Harold's pulse quickened. He could feel the impending danger looming ahead. "Stay close," he whispered, feeling the weight of the moment. "We'll get through this." Christina offered a small smile, a sweet acknowledgement that wrapped around his heart. Together, they reached the concealed entrance to the control room, a heavy door that seemed almost impervious. Harold ran his fingers over the surface, searching for any mechanism that might grant them access. "I think I heard something about a biometric scanner," Christina said, peering over his shoulder. "If I can touch it, my data should give us access." "Let's hope that works," he whispered, feeling a surge of hope mixed with dread. Relying on her guidance, Harold found the scanner embedded in the wall. He stepped back, allowing Christina to approach. Holding her chained hands to the scanner, she closed her eyes, quieting her breath as she concentrated. A moment later, the scanner emitted a warm glow, and to Harold's astonishment, the door clicked open. It swung inward, revealing a room lined with monitors, buttons, and an impressive array of technology beyond his imagination. "Quickly, we should find those codes," Harold urged, stepping inside and scanning the room. Christina moved gracefully, her eyes darting from one screen to the next, her brow furrowing in concentration. "There's secure transmissions." She pointed towards a monitor flickering with information. "I need to download the codes." As she hurried to the control panel, Harold kept watch, listening intently for any signs of trouble. His skin prickled with the feeling of being watched. Time felt precious, slipping like sand through his fingers. Come onorevole," Christina urged under her breath as she navigated through the sea of data flickering in front of her. Just as she reached for the final transmission, a loud beep echoed through the room, a warning that sent a chilling wave of panic through Harold. "Christina, we need to hurry," he exclaimed, scanning the walls for an exit. A voice crackled over a loudspeaker from somewhere deep within the hotel. "Attention staff. A breach has been detected in the control room. Security teams are mobilizing. Repeat, security teams are mobilizing." Christina's eyes widened, an urgency igniting in her expression. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds." Harold felt his pulse thundering as he positioned himself protectively in front of her. The door handle rattled, and a voice, a deep, authoritative tone, called from the other side. "Open up. You're surrounded." "Got it," Christina exclaimed, her hands hovering over the final buttons. The screen blinked, confirming the download of the access codes, just as the door began to give way. "Go," she urged, shoving the file into a small data storage device she had pulled from under her chains. Without a moment to spare, they dashed for another exit, the one into the dark, winding service corridors that might just lead them to freedom. "Run!" Harold shouted, and they did, heart pounding. Harold sprinted down the dimly lit corridor, the sound of heavy footsteps echoing behind them. Christina kept pace beside him, the chains clinking softly, yet they felt like a ticking clock counting down their freedom. "This way," she called, veering left at an intersection. Harold followed her instinctively, trusting her knowledge of the hotel's layout. As they hurried through the maze of service corridors, the sterile blue lights buzzed overhead, illuminating their path. The air was thick with tension. Every flicker of movement made Harold's heart race. In the distance, he could hear the distant shouts of approaching guards. "We need to find a way to get to the exit," he urged, glancing back over his shoulder. "There has to be a freight elevator or something we can use." Christina nodded, her expression focused despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "I think I remember seeing one back near where we entered. If we can reach it before they find us." Before she could finish, a door at the end of the corridor slammed open, and two guards stepped into view, their eyes locking onto Harold and Christina. Panic surged through Harold, and he instinctively pulled Christina closer to him. "Run!" he shouted. They took off again, heartbeats matching the rhythm of their hurried footsteps echoing loudly in the narrow passage. The sounds of boots pounding behind them echoed like thunder. "Right here!" Christina led him to a heavy door marked with an emblem indicating freight access. She pushed against it, and it creaked ominously, but it was locked tight. "Damn it!" Harold cursed, glancing back just as he heard shouting from the guards. "We don't have time." In a moment of desperation, he gave the door a hard shove. It rattled slightly but stayed shut. "Christina, I need you to help me," he urged. With determination set in her eyes, Christina joined him, and together they pushed against the door, the sound of chaos becoming more pronounced behind them. "On three," Harold called out. "1, 2, 3. With a united heave, they slammed their bodies against the door, and it groaned before bursting open. They tumbled inside the freight area, tumbling among the crates and supplies. "Close it," Christina urged, scrambling to her feet and slamming the door just as a shout rang out behind them. Harold slid a heavy crate in front of the door for good measure. They huddled together, hearts racing, listening as the guards shouted outside, searching for them. "Do you think they saw us?" Christina whispered, her breath coming in quick bursts. "I don't know," Harold replied, trying to suppress the panic that threatened to grip him. "They were close, but I think we bought ourselves a little time." Christina nodded, her wide eyes scanning the dark room, and he could see both fear and determination etching their way across her features. "Now what?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "We need to find an elevator or an escape pod, something that can get us out of here." He turned to examine the room, quickly spotting a dim light illuminating the far corner. "Look over there." They crept quietly towards the light source, stepping over crates and supplies that had been abandoned. The room began to unfurl itself, revealing a control panel with switches and buttons, likely used for operating the freight system. "We might be able to summon an elevator," Harold suggested. Christina joined him at the panel, her fingers darting over the controls. "I think I can access it," but I need to know which level to call. Anywhere but here, Harold said, peering outside the door nervously. Ideally, we want to reach the ground level, far from the entrances where they might be searching. Okay, hold on. Christina focused on the panel, her fingers moving swiftly. The screens flickered before settling on a layout map of the hotel. Just then, the sounds outside grew more frantic. The guards had regrouped, their voices rising as they communicated. Christina, hurry, Harold urged, glancing anxiously at the door. With a final press, she activated the panel. The humming sound of machinery filled the air, and the lights flickered above them. It worked. We've summoned an elevator, she exclaimed with a hint of triumph. Let's pray it comes quickly, Harold whispered, tensing as footsteps grew louder. Moments felt like hours as they waited, adrenaline surging through their veins. Just as the door to the freight area shook under the weight of heavy boots, the elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Get in, now, Harold urged, ushering Christina inside. He quickly followed, and as she hit the button for the ground level, the door slid shut. The sound of pounding fists echoed against the metal door, and Harold breathed a sigh of relief. They could hear muffled voices outside, but they were safe for the moment. The elevator lurched into motion, descending with a smooth hum. Harold and Christina shared a glance, a mix of fear and exhilaration passing between them as they clung to the hope of freedom. What happens when we get out? Christina asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. We'll figure it out together, Harold reassured her, the connection they forged growing stronger with every passing moment. We'll find a way to keep you safe. The elevator came to a halt, and the doors opened with a mechanical sigh, revealing a dimly lit lobby that seemed eerily quiet. Let's go, Harold urged, extending his hand to Christina. She grasped it tightly, a rush of warmth flooding through him. As they stepped into the lobby, the world outside awaited, dangerous, yet filled with possibility. They knew the risks, but together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. With every forward step, Harold felt hope swell in his chest. This was more than an escape. It was a journey they would undertake together, hand in hand, defying everything that sought to keep them apart. Stepping out of the elevator, the air felt different, thicker with anticipation and possibilities. Harold and Christina found themselves in a quiet, dimly lit lobby that seemed to stand in stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of the main hotel. The fabric of reality felt momentarily surreal, their hearts still thumping with adrenaline from their narrow escape. Which way? Harold asked, scanning their surroundings for any exits. The lobby was practically deserted, but he knew better than to let his guard down. Over there, Christina pointed towards a set of glass doors that led to an outside terrace, flanked by tall, glowing plants native to the planet. But we need to move quickly. It won't be long before the guards realize we escaped. Together, they made their way toward the terrace, each step heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The sound of distant voices echoed throughout the lobby, reminding them that they had only bought themselves a momentary respite. As they reached the terrace, the two pushed through the glass doors, stepping out into the cool, alien night. The sky was a stunning canvas of colors, swirling patterns that felt almost otherworldly. Strange constellations glimmered above them, and the air was fragrant with unfamiliar scents. Harold took a moment to catch his breath. It's beautiful, he breathed, gazing up at the celestial display. Yet this was not a time for awe. Look, Christina exclaimed softly, beckoning him to focus. She pointed towards a narrow path that wound through the lush, bioluminescent foliage. We can hide there until we figure out our next move. Without a word, Harold nodded, and they began to move through the dense underbrush. The glowing plants cast an eerie light around them, illuminating their path as they navigated through the vivid landscape. Each sound, the rustle of leaves, the chirp of foreign creatures, heightened the tension as their senses attuned to potential threats. Do you think they'll find us? Christina asked, her voice tinged with both hope and fear as they settled down behind a cluster of thick roots and expansive alien flowers. Harold turned to her, his expression softening. Not if we stay quiet and out of sight. We just need to wait for the right moment to make our move, he assured her. Christina looked at him, a flicker of gratitude crossing her features. Thank you, Harold. I didn't think anyone would care enough to help me. Of course I care, he replied, feeling a surge of protectiveness for her. You're not just some exotic experience. I can't just stand by and let something terrible happen to you. As they took a moment to breathe, an unexpected sense of camaraderie blossomed between them. In the face of danger, they found solace in each other's presence. Suddenly, the distant sound of voices interrupted their moment, drawing Harold's attention. There's no sign of them. They can't have gone far. A voice barked. It was unmistakably one of the guards. Spread out. Check every nearby area. Another voice replied, urgent and commanding. Harold's heart sank. They were already tightening the net, and the very air felt heavy with danger. He glanced at Christina, whose eyes were wide with fear. Stay low, he whispered urgently, glancing sideways and waiting for the guards to pass. They stayed still, hearts pounding, listening as the footsteps drew closer. The guards moved ever nearer, their silhouettes ominous against the glow of the plants. I thought I saw something, one guard said, squinting into the bushes. Harold held his breath, praying they wouldn't spot them. The tension felt unbearable. He could almost feel the electricity in the air as he and Christina exchanged nervous glances. Nothing here. Let's move. The guard finally huffed, relieving the pressure for the moment. As the guards moved on, Harold's pulse gradually slowed. We need to get out of here, he urged, looking for an escape route. We can't stay in one place for too long. Christina agreed, nodding resolutely. Let's head towards the forest. She gestured toward the dark trees visible in the distance, their shapes looming like guardians against the night sky. They moved cautiously, sticking close together as they slipped deeper into the undergrowth, feeling the hum of life surrounding them. Leaves rustled with soft whispers, and distant creatures called to one another, creating an odd symphony that both fascinated and unsettled Harold. As they reached the edge of the forest, a clearing opened up before them, revealing an expansive view of the landscape. Hills rolled away in the far distance, and faint lights hinted at a nearby settlement. Look, Christina pointed, excitement shining in her eyes. Over there, those lights, maybe they indicate civilization. We might find help. Harold squinted into the distance, the hopes of finding safety sending a surge of urgency through him. Let's go. They pressed forward through the thick underbrush, racing toward the welcoming lights that promised safety and sanctuary. The ground beneath them felt soft and spongy, each step taking them deeper into the unknown, yet drawing them closer to each other. As they neared the settlement, however, the darkness encroaching around them felt heavier. The comforting glow of the lights transformed into a harsh glare as the reality of their situation loomed ahead. Anxiety clawed at Harold's insides. What if they were walking into another trap? We need to be cautious, he warned, glancing over at Christina, who was now walking with resolve. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, she said, determination shining through even amidst the uncertainty. With their hearts full of hope and fears entwined, Harold and Christina prepared to face whatever lay waiting in the settlement. The dangers of the hotel were far from over, but they were united, and that bond gave them strength to forge ahead into the unknown. As Harold and Christina approached the settlement, the glowing lights flickered like distant stars, calling them home. They moved cautiously, aware that their every step was a gamble. The settlement was bustling with activity. Aliens of various forms, colors, and sizes moved about, forging their own paths in a vibrant tapestry of interconnected lives. Yet, as they stepped onto the cobblestone-like surface, a sense of unease washed over Harold. This place felt oddly familiar, yet impossibly foreign. Stay close, he whispered, glancing at Christina. Her beauty radiated even in the twilight, the remnants of fear in her eyes replaced by resolve. Christina nodded, shifting slightly, the chains glinting in the light. If we can find someone who can help, someone who can speak for me. Just then, a ripple of energy surged through Harold, A wave of protectiveness mingled with a burgeoning attraction that had been growing since they met. He could feel it deep within him, a primal urge that was igniting every fiber of his being. "I swear I won't let anything happen to you," he said, his voice a low promise. "You deserve freedom, not chains." With an encouraging smile, Christina reached out and touched his arm. The warmth of her touch sent a jolt of desire through him, a longing that transcended their circumstances. "Harold," she said, her voice catching slightly, "we may not have much time, if we're going to be together, truly together." He met her gaze, instilled with raw emotion. "You mean?" Before he could finish, Christina stepped closer, her face inches from his. "I feel the pull between us, too. Despite everything, I want to embrace the connection, the mating energy that's flowing between us." The moment hung in the air like the weight of the stars, and without thinking, Harold leaned in, capturing her lips with his. The kiss ignited the world around them, a heat that surged through their bodies as they melted into each other. The boundaries of human and alien faded, and a shared yearning took center stage. Christina responded with more passion, deepening the kiss. The chains between them felt like an irony, a reminder of her captivity and the strange, beautiful bond they were forging together. Harold could feel the world outside them dissolve. It was just them in that moment, a human and an alien. Two souls connected by a force neither could deny. "I want you," he whispered against her lips, both exhilaration and vulnerability combining in his voice. "Then let's not wait any longer," Christina replied, her eyes sparkling with hope and desire. Together, they scanned the area and moved toward a secluded alcove formed by oversized, luminescent plants. The vibrant colors enveloped them, creating a pocket of intimacy amidst the chaos of the settlement. As they entered the softly lit space, Harold felt a sense of urgency mixed with reverence for the moment they were about to share. They were two beings crossing an abyss of differences, ready to unite. With tentative hands, they began to explore one another's bodies, fingers tracing delicate curves and hard edges, interpreting the language of touch. Christina's scales shimmered under the ambient glow, entrancing him, igniting his every sense. The energy that coursed between them heightened with every minute detail. The way she gasped slightly when he traced the slender curve of her waist, the soft sigh that escaped her lips when their bodies aligned in harmony. "Christina," he breathed, the weight of the world momentarily forgotten. "I want to be with you." With a nod, Christina smiled, a brilliant light in her eyes. Parting the chains binding her wrists, she freed herself from the last remnants of her captivity. As their bodies intertwined, Harold felt the echo of the universe affirming their union. It was raw. It was beautiful. It was the essence of what it meant to mate across worlds, an emotional and physical bonding that transcended traditional barriers. All around them, the alien flora thrummed in symphony with their rhythms. Their mating became a celebration, one that honored the complexities of their existence and the fierce love blossoming in the midst of chaos. As the sun began to rise, cascading golden light over the vibrant alien landscape, Harold and Christina found themselves entwined, basking in the glow of their shared intimacy. The night had ignited a bond that neither had anticipated, a connection that transcended their very beings. Harold awakened to the soft sounds of the awakening world, the birds of the alien realm chirping in melodic harmony. He looked down at Christina, who was still sleeping peacefully beside him, her features serene in the morning light. The remnants of their night together filled him with warmth and fulfillment, yet an undeniable sense of urgency tugged at his heart. "We need to go," he whispered, gently shaking her shoulder. "We can't stay here for long." Christina stirred, her eyes fluttering open. A sleepy smile crept across her face as she met his gaze. "You're right," she admitted, stretching with a feline grace. "As wonderful as this is, we have to find a way to safety." They quickly gathered their things, and together they navigated back through the settlement, avoiding the bustling crowds that resumed their daily lives. The night had unearthed an unexpected alliance, a purpose greater than themselves. As they reached the outskirts, the sense of danger began to fade, replaced by a flicker of hope. Harold knew they needed to find a way to ensure Christina's safety among her own people. Over there, Christina pointed towards a group of aliens gathered around what appeared to be a communal meeting space. Those are my people. If anyone can help, it's them. Harold felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Would they accept him, a human? Would they understand the bond he shared with Christina? Let's approach together, he decided, squeezing her hand reassuringly. As they approached, the aliens turned to look at them, curiosity and whispers rippling through the group. One figure stepped forward, a tall, imposing alien with striking blue scales. "Christina," he called, his voice booming yet warm. "You've returned. We feared the worst. And I've brought someone important," Christina said, her voice clear and courageous as she stood by Harold's side. "Harold helped me escape. He is not my enemy. He fought for my freedom." A murmur rippled through the crowd as the blue-scaled alien studied Harold, evaluating him. "You risked much for her, human." "Why?" "Because no one deserves to be held captive, no matter their origin," Harold replied, feeling both vulnerable and defiant. "Christina deserves a life free from chains, and I intend to help her if she wants it." The alien nodded slowly, his scales reflecting the morning light. "You have shown bravery. We are people of honor. We value those who fight for our kind. You are welcome here, human." Relief washed over Harold as murmurs of agreement filled the air. Christina's eyes sparkled with gratitude, and a newfound confidence radiated from her. "We can start anew," Christina said, turning to Harold, her grip tightening on his hand. As the aliens welcomed them into their midst, an overwhelming sense of belonging settled into Harold's heart. Together, with their differences woven into a colorful tapestry, they would forge their own path forward. In the days that followed, Harold and Christina began to integrate into the community, learning about each other's cultures, deepening their knowledge and understanding. Their bond grew stronger, shaping them into a partnership that defied conventions. Each evening, they would sit under the swirling skies, sharing stories of their worlds and discovering the depths of their differences and similarities. Their love flourished amidst this acceptance, cementing the connection they had forged during their escape. Finally, under the zillion twinkling stars, Harold turned to Christina. "Whatever happens next, I want to face it together." Christina smiled, a brilliant light in her eyes, echoing the warmth in his heart. "Always." With the dawn of a new chapter on the horizon, Harold and Christina knew that, despite the changes they would face, their journey had only just begun. Together, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, their hearts intertwined like the vibrant threads of their newly woven lives.